There you go.
Hey, I'm so excited to have one of the most amazing women in the world on today. So, again, we're talking about the art of leverage and what is it that changed your life because you were able to meet the right person, find the right way to bring your vision to the world, and what was it that let you catapult yourself in a way that was easy and it was all about scale. And so today we're going to speak to Yifat Cohen, who is, hello.
Hi. And you
Hi.
said my name right. I'm so proud of you.
Oh my gosh, because I've been practicing, right? So Yifat is the leader in understanding how to use Google Plus to really scale intimacy. And she is actually the person that Google calls to explain how best to use their own product, which is a really big deal. And one of the first things I'm going to have you do is rave and tell us about yourself. But before I do, I'm just going to read some of your amazing accolades and what you, and I'll make you feel really embarrassed.
Okay.
And I want you to receive because you're amazing.
Thank you.
So you were on Google Plus. You were like one of the first people that was ever on Hangouts on Air. You got the privileges, and because of that, you've been hosting your own Hangout show, which has had a ton of experts on it, including TJ Marchetti, who is the VP of Walt Disney, Danielle Laporte. There's so many people on here. There's Ben Jealous, the former president of the NAACP. And now your big thing is focused on emerging futures. What's next? So you've got this interview series with people like Tom Chi, who created Google Glass. And so you're having these conversations with Don Gray and all these people, and you're setting it up so that you're engaging the audience as well. So we're going to talk about that and what you're passionate about and all the different ways that you've been able to, I mean, you've got hundreds of thousands of people that are engaging like in real time in these conversations. So I've got a whole bunch of questions, but I want you to do a little raving about yourself, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to acknowledge ourselves. And so I want you to tell us, maybe one big exciting thing that might even have shown up recently, and then what's your latest project that you're passionate about?
So recently, actually yesterday, I figured out that we can put our Hangouts on TV. Um,
Wow.
I was like, let's move, because my biggest vision is how do we move humanity to active watching, active TV, rather than like passively watching the screen, yelling at it, and not participating. How do we actively participate with the people on the screen? So that's my big audacious goal. And to move there, we figured out a way to that we can put our Hangout with public participation on. Come on, it's local access, but it's a start. It's not Oprah, but it's a start. So that just happened yesterday. Two other goals that I'm really, really excited about is I'm working with the Women Network. We're relaunching. So there used to be the California Women Network. Marsha Schwarzenegger's wife, Marsha something. Schwarzenegger's wife had that conference, the big California conference. It's been running for 30 years, and Michelle Patterson just purchased it. Last year, they had a physical event in an auditorium for 9,000 women. I'm like, so,
Shriver, right? Did I get
yes, thank you.
it? I know this conference I've been wanting to go for a long time.
Yes, that woman. So now we are putting this online globally, but the biggest goal is actually the engagement, because most people go to events not to listen to the speakers, but actually to network. So how do we network online? How do we do that? How do we build these relationships? Because they're probably like-minded people, like you and I have found each other, and there would be no way for us to stay in touch and connected and face-to-face and talk in conversations and deepen the relationship without this online technology. So how do we do that? Um, and the way we're going to do that is by building a community. We're going to have a welcome committee. So imagine like the biggest challenge right now with all the membership sites and chambers of commerce and unions and all that stuff is like when you decide, okay, I'm building my business, I'm going to go out there, I'll network. It's just you by yourself with this big organization, and now you need to go and figure out what people want and how do you present yourself. And I'm in BNI, so do they like my business? Am I too salesy and stuff? Instead, what if there were a welcoming commission going like, Nicole, we're so happy you're here. We are already, we know everything that we need to know about you. Here's the right 5 people that you need to talk to today in order to get you to the next level. And these people might be from everywhere, right? But now you can meet them face to face on Hangouts.
We need to have a whole other conversation after this. I've got like 10 things for you.
Yeah, so that's exciting. It's exciting from the impact that I see it making in the world in terms of like just elevating the relationships and the connections and the meaning, the happiness level. I'm working on happiness level because if you have meaningful relationships, then your own happiness level increases and it will ripple and hopefully will make the world a happier place. So that's my thing. And from the financial side, I see us making, this is recorded, so it's going to be $10 million by July. I know. So so that's the big, huge thing we're working on.
That's your big, hairy,
audacious goal,
right? Yeah. So in terms of the conversation about leverage, being able to introduce people to a whole community that is national, international, there's this phrase called propinquity that I just had a friend tell me about the other day, which I didn't know there was a term for. The people that we're connected to in the closest, almost like, you're more likely to marry the person that's within a certain radius, right? Like we connect. Yes. Now because we have this virtual environment and we're still like, we have found a love for each other in the last, because we get to see each other and connect. And so to do that at scale and to create those introductions for people that would never have an opportunity to meet, and you're hand curating who should know each other, I have so much I want to talk to you about.
Yes, it's completely different. I think the biggest challenge that of all the conferences and all that stuff is that someone calls themselves the expert, and just because they did, they're put on stage and now they're the expert, but nobody can reach them, touch them, talk to them. Mm-hmm. I've had an experience with some guy that was introduced by Eben Pagan, and I'm not gonna mention his name because so I'm listening to his story, really passionate, really touching me. I'm starting to follow him on YouTube and like read his emails and all that stuff. And then I'm speaking on Eben Pagan's stage, and so I meet him. He's one of the speakers. He doesn't know me from Eve, and so I come and like touch him, like, hey, you're blah. Completely ignores me as if I'm not even there. So I'm like, I think maybe he doesn't hear me, right? So I actually physically touch him. I was like, hi, you're blah. Like I'm a ghost. And I was like, wow, what a difference between who you portray yourself to be and who you really are, right? And so with this kind of thing, like unless you're engaging with me, then I don't really care, who you are. And there's going to be a time, and I can't remember who I told that to. So we have Tony Robbins teaching about relationships and all that stuff. And granted, Tony doesn't need, little us. But you got Tony Robbins and all the people and all the social media that he does, right? He's spending probably tons of money on social media. And you can see that because the quality, the conversation, the frequency, and all that stuff. But he doesn't come back and actually talk to the people who comment and engage. Now I have one of my clients exactly in the same niche. Dude, he's coming in, exactly the same niche, exactly the same issue, but he's the one who's actually responding to people and talking to them and building a relationship, legally stealing Tony Robbins' clients. It's like...
Let's talk about that for a second. So you have this new way to actually engage people in real time, where they get to, it's not just like, and I think this is cool for brands as well, but it's not that you just get to interact and have a personal relationship. It's different than the other webinars where people might comment and respond. It's this whole other level, and I know I saw you just did this like hangout marathon, and the results that you got, the engagement, and I saw something else where your engagement levels, I think it was, I don't know if it was there was someone that you were like at the exact same time, and because of what you were doing, you had so many more people that were not just showing up and watching, but they were actually interacting.
Right, and I think the biggest challenge is that we haven't moved from, like the mindset, haven't changed from marketing, one-way communication, to conversations, right? We call it social media, but we don't treat it as social media. We really don't want to hear like Similac just came out with a really awesome YouTube video, but they know everybody hates them, so they closed all the comments on YouTube video because they didn't want people to talk. It's like, come on, I'll share the video and I'll talk. You can't prevent people from talking, right? Um, but the challenge is like, oh, I need to put something on YouTube. I need to be social. I need to put stuff on Twitter. I need to tweet 5 times a day or Facebook 3 times a day. But you don't get anything back, right? You're in the void because there's no two-way conversation happening. So with these guys, that was Guy Kawasaki and Gary Vaynerchuk. I think between the two of them, they have about 15 million people, right? But they're just talking to each other. They do a hangout they might as well would have done a video, right? Like there's no reason why they would do it on a hangout because they're not talking to anyone. They don't care. So at the same time, I had a hangout with an ex-Google employee. We got, I think, 4 times the engagement, the comments, the shares, the views. So yeah, it's I think what happens is that we have so much information and we long for that connection between each other. And people don't do that, right? We don't connect.
So tell me about like this Google the Hangout-a-thon that you just did. You were putting gamification in it as well, so that was giving people like this whole other level of wanting to play. How did that work?
So John Benson, who's the top copywriter, has created a software called Accelerator that helps you, really walks you through creating a story and selling your services. And what we did was really interesting. John is such a great marketer. And he came up and he goes like, I want to do 10 days hangouts. And I said, okay, but we're not selling anything. We're giving value, we're educating, and we're giving access. So the first 5 days, it's pure content. You're not selling, you just don't sell. And it's so hard for him, like someone who grew up with webinars and sales pages, it's so hard. But we started with like giving value, and we gamified it by giving people points for every activity that they did. So if they share on Twitter, if they comment, if they watch a video, they get points. And we didn't even tell them what was the first prize, the second prize. People are like, this is addictive because it says all you need is 10 more points. All you need is 20 more points. And they started like, they're doing more activities. We got so much buzz. 10% of the sales came in from social media, not affiliates, not direct marketing, nothing.
Huge deal. Social never converts. That's amazing.
Yeah, and we had people that came in to say like, I'm not going to spend that much money because this was like a $2,000 product. They're like, I'm just coming in for the content. By the end of it, they couldn't buy fast enough. We had people buy stuff we didn't even plan on selling. We're like, this is the gift for the day. And people are like, how do I buy it? And we're like, I guess you click on this image. We don't have anything. You click on that, PayPal, and sell.
So that's almost like it's beyond creating the intimacy. You're able to do product development. You're able to do product feedback. You're listening, and you're getting information in real time about what it is that people actually want. And I just am blown away by how you're able to be present for that many people.
So it's very interesting to see how our comfort level, because some people are very comfortable joining on camera and actually talking and expressing themselves. Some people more comfortable in text and in comments. And then some people don't even want to show their image. Like even the avatar that you have, they're just going to be like a blue head or like an image. They don't want to even, be visible, but they still, right?
All those blue heads.
All the blue heads. But it's fascinating, and it feels like there's like levels of engagement. People come in, and at the beginning they don't know you, and they're afraid of you, and they don't want to even speak up. And then slowly, when they see that you're approachable and you're actually answering questions and you're not making fun of them and everything is smart, then we had people join us. Like one lady, her internet was turned off. She made it to the library so that she can join us live on video. We had people joining us from CarMax, like people starting from the mobile, running to the house to join us on the computer. So it became this kind of thing where people felt like they had to be part of all those 10 days. And some of those hangouts were like 2.5 hours long. We had 80% of people still on the last, sitting there, watching, talking, engaging. And I think it's because it becomes a conversation, right? It's not like me just like blah, 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 blah. It's actually someone's asking a question in real time, whether it's on video or in the chat, and you bring it up and you address it and you answer them, and then they feel like, oh, if I don't show up today, then I missed my chance of, asking my specific question.
And then it also becomes where the audience is also the teacher.
Exactly.
Right? So, so if I were to ask you, like, what are the 3 things you can do to scale intimacy? Let me see if I might have got some of these already. So the first one would be only value. So like you're providing value, value, value. And I know we've seen that in other formats, but it's in a very different way than here's 3 emails and a webinar, and now I'm going to convert you to a sale. And then being able to show that you're really real, that you're approachable, that you're listening, you're answering these questions, and that you're authentic.
Yep.
So if you have somebody that's not authentic, it might be a little bit more difficult.
And you know what? Actually, this is why I think Hangouts will separate the men from the boys, because those who you can trick me in text, right? You can come across as like the most caring, loving person ever, and then also when you record video, you can come across as the most amazing because you edit, right? But when you're live, I can see the little twitches, right? And I can get the vibe of like if you're really self-serving or if you really care about me, right? So you get that, yeah. Live video is amazing.
So, okay, so those were 2. So what would be the third thing? So like to be able to get somebody so excited about being present for 2.5 hours.
You have to make them feel that you're talking to them and let them have a say. So whether that see the challenge with webinars and stuff like that is that you're picking the questions that you're going to answer. So I might sit there for the longest time, right? But you'll never address me because this question doesn't really feel like something you want to answer right now, right? But if you let me in on a Hangout and just take my question live, you can't not address me, right? And I feel like I am actually participating and you care because you're listening. Some of the other things that we did was that because it was 10 days, we were able to take questions from day 1 and answer them in day 2. Mm-hmm. So we would communicate in email, and someone would email me and say, hey, I have this big problem, that whatever. And I'll be like, okay, come on the Hangout tomorrow, right? You'll be the first person to come in, ask us the question, we're going to answer it live, and then drop off, and then we'll go to our whatever it is that we needed to. Another thing that was really funny was that John was talking about a horror story that like when you take people through a sales funnel, you start with like, this happened to me, and this is the horror story, and this is how I solved it. And I was like, I don't have a horror story. I have stories, it's not horror. So he's like, I bet I can do that. He's like, I bet I can do this. Come on, bring me your stuff. And I was like, I'm uncomfortable. And we're live on air, right? I was like, I'm really uncomfortable. And he goes like, no, come on, bring it up, And so people start texting like, you can do my story. And he's like, Yifat, I want your story. So I give him part of my story, and he turns it into like a nightmare. Like I sucked on social media, and he's like making my suckiness on social media even worse, And then he said, well, tomorrow I'm going to give you the grand solution.
Yeah.
And so people showed up the next day to see my grand solution. And when he didn't use me as an example for like, he gave the horror story and the grand solution wasn't my solution, people were like, but wait, I thought we were like continuing the thing. So it's cool because we kind of like weaved it, for the whole 10 days as a whole kind of like, I guess, a movie kind of thing.
Beautiful. Yeah. So live press conference, teaser campaign. You got me all. I mean, you're one of those thriller TV shows where I've got to tune in.
There you go, reality TV.
Better than reality TV. Better than reality TV because we also get to we are all participants as well.
Yeah.
I'm so blown away by what you're doing. So, all right, let me ask you a few other questions. And I know that we met at Success 3.0, which is all about the idea is conscious capitalism, but there's just a different level of consciousness that's starting to show up in business, and I know that you're present to these things. What would you say is the biggest thing that you've been able to shift or provide in your mindset that's allowed you to really create leverage? So if you were to leverage your mindset, what are like some of the maybe one action thing that you do or that you've done that allowed you to totally transform something and then catapult yourself because you were able to shift your thinking?
Um,
So on the spot, do you like this?
yeah, right. I think mine was money. I was not comfortable receiving, mostly because this thing comes so easily to me. So I was like, why would you pay for that? That's so easy. Um, and and I wasn't ready to actually accept, like, or even ask for good money to be paid. When people are, what I did with John Benson, a lot of people came and said, "Hey, did you take anything on the back end?" I'm like, "No, why not? This is the first thing that we do with everybody." I'm like, because um, so I think the biggest one is like, um, how do I let money come in, and from multiple ways of doing it while also serving as many people as I can. My challenge right now is that because of the success with John Benson, a lot of people want to work with me one-on-one, and so I don't have the time. And so how do I give people all the basics and everything that they need so that they can run with it, and then after they know all that stuff, they can pick my brain for like an hour or two and then move to the next level. So that's
How do you scale yourself? How do
how
you
I tell myself. Yeah.
and the receiving piece is such a big deal. So,
Especially for women, right? We're not
so
asking for it.
this is one of the things that's shown up for me lately, and I don't know if we had this conversation, but this is so present in my mind, and I think it's allowed me to shift the game. I believe as women, or at least for myself, we're really good at doing things for other people, right? Like, no problem, I can show up for you, not a problem. When it's for me, when it comes to receiving, asking, all these different pieces, so much harder. And so, if we were to shift that, the idea that it's actually really good for us to show up for other people, and so make it that I need to now do this for the next woman. I need to do it for her. I need to get the mindset piece down, because if I ask and I receive, which is even more important, it shows her the model of what she can be. And if I don't, for example, we've spent a lot of time in our lives focusing on belief work and all these pieces, right? So if we don't make that shift, we're either ignorant or we're weak or we're lazy. Well, the thing is, we're not ignorant anymore, right? So what, are we weak or we're lazy? So I think by reframing it and saying, you know what, I better get this shit down now because it is not for me anymore. It's for her.
Yeah.
Completely different. So that's something that's been kind of like forcing, like that's providing a lot of momentum for me, is it's not about me anymore. Like I've now wasted, I shouldn't say wasted, everything's a learning opportunity, but a decade of, okay, here or there, and it's just like, in every moment, can I choose a useful thought? Can I make a choice that's, and there's one thing that I was watching Shark Tank, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and Barbara was interviewing, or there was a woman there who had an amazing product, and every single thing about it was perfect. Her margins, all like great. Not only was the product right, but every single other element. But she had a big problem with the manufacturer. She was in a lot, like there's all these different pieces. And Barbara said, you know what, I would absolutely invest in you, but the one thing that I look for in an entrepreneur is how quickly are you able to get over feeling sorry for yourself. And that was it. And it was just like, how long are you going to feel sorry for yourself when you start not investing? And so these are things that keep coming up for me lately. And so I love that. I love that you're willing to be honest, and we all have our little things. And
I have a 5-year-old, and I'm now a single mom. So for me, it's kind of like, do it or die kind of thing. And it's very interesting because I'm in the States, I'm Israeli, and I live here, so my family is over there. So if like I don't have a safety net, and maybe that's one of the things of kind of like, if you're not gonna ask for it and you're not gonna receive it, your kid's not gonna have something to eat. So go for it.
Yeah, so it's a whole other level. Let me I've got a few more questions, and then I will have to say our goodbyes for this minute. Gosh, I have so many things that I want to lead you to. Oh my gosh. Okay. In terms of any other relationships or partnerships or messaging or any of these pieces where by putting like a little tweak like that, it catapulted you. It created a whole bunch of other opportunities. And so my interest is always in leverage, just because I like the idea of ease and grace. And I think strategic partnerships, or how you position yourself, some of these things can make all the difference, and they can be really simple to put in place. Was there one, let's just say, is there one piece, whether it was a relationship, it was a way that you position yourself, anything that really made a big difference and took you from one level to the next?
I think it's I'm very much about people, and so the people that came into my life, it's really interesting. It's once you know where you're going, everything else shows up. Um, I didn't know where I was going, and so the two relationships that catapulted me the most were like the most destructive also. Um, the first one completely took advantage of my knowledge to build his own brand. The first time he did it, it was very fascinating. It was a great lesson. The second time, I learned from it, and so I kept my own intellectual property for myself. Um, and and that partnership ended by me meeting another person who promised the world and the moon and everything, and it ended up me working for him and building his own brand. And I had to get a lawyer to get out of that relationship. But all the people that showed up in between because of me rendezvousing with these individuals were allowing me to be where I am today. So you're right. It's like there's no mistakes. If I learn from it, then it's a lesson, right? And I learned that I need to own my own intellectual property. I need to have everything in place, and I need to know where I'm going because I didn't know where I was going. These two people pulled me the wrong direction. Now I know what I'm building, so it's so much easier to look at the people and say like, okay, are you supporting my goal or deferring me from it? And then their relationship, right? So now today I'm working with Michelle Patterson. She has her own network of people. And I'm like, okay, here are my training. How do I help her people use my training, right? And actually use her mass to build the future that I see in TV and engagement interaction. So that allows me to not have to look for affiliates, to actually train people in the way that I do things, and just grow it faster. But you know what, Nicole, the fastest thing, something came to me. It's like we are so complicating stuff. It's not even funny. One of my biggest visions is to build YCN, which is the Yifat Cohen Network, which is kind of like the first agency online for Hangout hosts, as well as the one place you go online to watch all the shows. So let's say, Nicole, I'm helping you build your own show where it's like every Monday night at 8 p.m. you can pick Nicole's brain about leverage, mindsets, business, all that other stuff, right? So I'm helping you build a show, but also there are a bunch of other people who might need to be interviewed as a host, might need a pretty host like yourself. So why don't you just be a host for other people? So I'm like, how am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? The easiest way would be to just put up a seminar, like a one-day training in LA for all these actors and actresses, right, that are broke, that are very comfortable in front of the camera, and train them on Hangouts and how to be hosting that. Ta-da! Have my hosts. The next day is to go to all the PR agencies and be like, hey, I have the host. Ta-da! We have the business. Ta-da! It's done, right? We don't need to, there's no investment, there's no money, there's just like putting it together, right? But usually when we start a business, we start going like, okay, how I'm going to find the people, how I'm going to sell it, who's going to want it, blah, 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 right? And then nothing happens. So I think just like knowing the people that you know, each one of them has their own circles, connecting all those dots because all those people love you, and just putting them together and helping you make your dream happen. You can do that very, very quickly with no money, and it's done. It's like, all right, just do it.
I'm so thankful that you're open and willing to share your experiences because not everybody has like the perfect thing. We all have our learning opportunities, right? So I'm very, very thankful that you're willing to share that. And then being able to really understand, you said like once you knew where you were going, it's like, well, once you knew in terms of your purpose or once you knew in terms of the business model, or was it a combination? I mean, I hear you saying easy and great, that we all think about like, how are we going to do this? And that we make it really complex. How did you get to easy?
I had a car accident. I had a car accident in the Success Summit when we met. Someone ran a red light, smashed my car completely, and I looked at the car and I was like, I shouldn't have walked out of this. And and at that moment I was like, wow, if I had died, what, the people who just paid me for my lessons, they would not have gotten whatever they paid for, and they would not have lived to wherever they want to go. My son would have woken up the next day saying, my mom went to a conference, never came back. And I was like, what would be said at my funeral? I haven't changed lives yet. I haven't done anything yet, like, what have I done? Um, and so that moment was like, okay, how do I actually impact as many people as I can? I really want to leave my eulogy. I don't want to leave my resume. Um,
I love that.
right? So,
I walked out of that conference as well with just different beliefs about how I was going to, that the mindset piece, working with women, like there was just a whole big shift around how do I want to show up? Yeah, around legacy.
yeah, and it's interesting. It's because it's like, um, I'm gonna get woo-woo on that.
No, I love it. Like that's the whole point, right?
But it's like, we're such a tiny little thing in the scale of all that stuff, right? Like, so today, some guy, some actor, some Jewish actor died. Who knew? Who knows? Nobody knows, right? But there are people who leave their impact on the world, and whether it's by the children or by the books that you write or by the programs or the songs, right? Or just like your small circle of how you touch lives, and someone goes like, I would not have been here if I didn't know her. So that little thing, I think that's the only thing we can live. And it's so weird. It's kind of like we schedule our day. I'm working right now and like scheduling, getting all my work done, right? And by the end of the day, it's my son who would be like, my mom taught me this, and who knows, he might be saving some people down the road. So who do you touch? And I've been saying it, but not living it. That accident actually moved me into living it. So sometimes, they say in the Bible that Hebrews are very thick in the head. Sometimes you need an accident to wake them up. Like, woke me up.
I love it. I love it. And one thing I've been saying lately is, for me, a true measure of success is being able to get to the point where I'm tearing up or even crying once a day, because I'm either engaging with someone like you who's just said something that's like my heart broke open, or I'm able to see someone who I'm incredibly proud of the work that they've done, whether I've been involved or not. I'm blessed to be in their presence. So that's the big deal for me, is having at least one opportunity a day where I'm in tears because of some reason I'm thankful to be in the presence of another.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm so psyched to get to hang out with you. This is wonderful. And so I'm just going to ask you maybe one or two other questions. And then, I have so many questions for you, but do you have any secret weapons that you use? And when I say that, meaning, is there like a piece of technology? I mean, I know it's Google Hangout.
Actually, it's Nodex. So Nodex is a software that Lee Smallwood built to help him answer questions faster.
Will you spell it? Because I tried.
Yes. NOD, the number 3, and X, because it's node, like it's a number of nodes that you need to the power of 3, I think. That's what it's called. And it's basically the relationship. So what Nodex does, it takes the guesswork out of social media. So right now we are, when we approach social media, it's like we put our content out there and then we try to have it being seen. And we don't know who sees it and who cares and who engages. What Nodex does, it goes out and finds all the conversations on the topic that you want to listen to, and shows you all the people who are having those conversations, what they're talking about, what are the best times that you should engage in those topics. And it has a virtual mentor, like a virtual calendar that says, hey, based on our analysis of all the conversations that are happening across the entire web, if you want to be known as the experts of leverage, you should be tweeting at this time, this day, with these hashtags. And you can plug all that stuff in, and it will blast it for you. It will schedule it for you, and then all you have to do is come back and engage, right? So you have to respond, and you have to talk, and you have to build a relationship. So it's much easier because you're not sitting there going like, what should I write about this month? What should I talk about this month? How do I position myself as stuff, right? You just plug into everything that's already happening. And the beauty of that is that it's exactly the same thing, the same way we do it in real life. In real life, right?
We're responding.
But if you walk into, like, let's say you walk into the Success Summit and you want everybody there to know that you are the person to go to for leverage, then you're not going to stand up on stage and say, I'm the leverage go-to girl, right? Because people will be like, who the heck are you? You would go and start talking to people and tapping into their conversations and go like, oh my God, I can still connect you with that person. That's really helpful, right? And you'll become valuable because of what you bring to the conversations. So the same thing happens online. You find a conversation, you help, you offer value, and you become the most needed person to go to for these issues. Totally reverse mindset. It's not me, 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 me. It's like serving.
And I love that. I'm all about the idea of serving rather than selling. Are you an affiliate? Do you have a link that we can include? You must be, I would assume, because you're like such a...
He's actually putting it in place now because I've been sending him so many people, and it's like, okay, I need to put up an affiliate link in place. So I'll get that to you.
Absolutely. I should be working for Nimble and Fancy Hands and all these places, but I do have affiliates for those. So last question for you is our turn. So what would be a gift that you could receive? Like, what is it that you would like that we could support you with?
What would I would like? I would like great guests for my show. I would like you to show up for my show live and engage with my guests. And then if I can help you guys, and if you want to learn Google Plus and Hangouts, I would love for you to join me on a 90-day challenge where you learn how to find your audience on Google Plus and monetize it through Hangouts. That'd be great.
Okay, and so you're going to have information about that.
Yes.
I know. I couldn't believe what you just sent me with those numbers. The engagement numbers were incredible.
For the case study, yeah, I was really impressed that so we made 250,000 I think in 5 days, but I think it's going to turn into $1 million launch because now that we did that, he has a course to sell that's kind of like pre-education for other stuff. So repurposing is a big deal, like it's a big part of Hangouts, and I think the hardest thing for people is to show up, right? Like I need to show up live and actually care, to talk to people live.
So again, that's a really big deal when it comes to leverage. I just want to make sure that that's clear. You're having this conversation, you're doing your Google Hangout, you are now building content that you can repurpose over time, that you now can roll up all sorts of other products.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. And actually, if you guys if you're watching this and thinking of doing Hangouts, just know that you can take all your Hangouts and the pre-recorded version of it you can put on TV. Leverage. Now you have all the other people who don't know how to open a computer watch your show on their TV screen.
That's what we were just talking about at the beginning. So it's on local channels. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. So it's so funny because one of the ladies Nicole, it's so crazy. It's like the things that we need, that we think that we need, that we don't know that we have for free just to get us going. So every city has a community channel, or I think it's called community channel, and they have a studio with the cameras and the mixers and the audios, everything. They have a studio that you can come in and do your show from there, and you can then borrow. You don't even rent, you don't even pay for the equipment. So say you needed to do a Hangout or anything else, and you needed badass cameras, you just go there, take them for like a weekend, and you have your show. And then because they're thirsty for content, and the content that they show there, it's really embarrassing actually to say that your content is part of that content, but they really want quality content. So if you're providing this, they'll give you a slot on TV, and so now your grandmother can watch you on your TV channel.
That's amazing. And then you could syndicate your Google Hangout to all of them.
Yeah, and now I think what it is, it's basically, it's step one, right? Step one is say, hey, you can also watch me on community channel, and then if your show is really good and you have an audience, you can come into the cable, or they'll see you, but you're online and on TV.
So YCN is going to have a list of all these different things, and that's going to be part of what you're packaging, is giving people access to all that, so they don't have to build all those relationships, and you'll give them national access to every single community channel. It'll be one of your
Sure.
We'll just add it. Well, I'm so thankful, of course, to get to connect with you, and I we'll talk about some other stuff in terms of the women's piece and creating there's a whole Oh, I won't go into it now. But there's a lot of stuff that I want to support you with.
That's awesome.
So thank you so much, and thank you for teaching me everything I need to know about creating layouts.
But joining, I would love for you to be one of the first, channels on 1CA. It'll be cool. Yeah. You're such a
Well,
great host. I mean,
thank you, my dear. Well, I love you so much. I'm going to see you on the other side. Okay.